Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about a petition to the Supreme Court seeking to have the court overrule its landmark ruling that the Constitution protects the right of same-sex couples to marry, the Obergefell decision, and just that it is putting it in front of the court, which has at least 2 or 3 justices that have made clear that they are receptive to the argument. But it's in a case that is going nowhere, I think, pretty clearly. And so it's more the fact that they're beginning to receive petitions than any kind of actual concern that this may be a vehicle or they're about to select a vehicle to reconsider Obergefell. All right, this is from I think famous would be the word. She's the most famous marriage clerk in the country, Kim Davis in Kentucky, whose personal religious beliefs prevent her, she says, from issuing licenses to same-sex couples. You could analogize her to some of the people that have gotten solicitous treatment from the Supreme Court in recent years, who have said things like, I'm a baker, and I just don't want to do a cake that consecrates marriage of same-sex couples because I don't believe in it, etc. And the Supreme Court has really pushed the law in favor of those religious claims, even at the cost of the claims of laws passed by municipalities and states against discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or marriage status. Here, though, Clark is a municipal worker. Obergefell comes out. The governor commands people to issue marriage licenses, and she just won't do it. So we have a kind of ongoing recalcitrance on her part. She refuses. She is sued. The courts refuse her claim. She gets an accommodation for a little bit that says her deputies can do it, but not her. Then even that is eventually removed. She is sued by a same-sex couple that she, notwithstanding getting the direct order, including from the courts, refuses to grant the license of, notwithstanding that it is the law of the land as determined by the U.S. Supreme Court. She just, completely doubles down and says, I'm not doing it no matter what, although she doesn't quit her job. And eventually she is sued by people that she refuses to give a license to, a same-sex male couple, and she is held liable. And the Sixth Circuit above says, she says, I've got qualified immunity because I'm a state official. And they say, no, you don't, because that's just for constitutional rights, that it doesn't count for constitutional rights that are clearly established. And Supreme Court opinion, just on point, this is clearly established. So you don't have it. You do owe $100,000. She has already spent for contempt of court several days in jail. And that went up after that, she challenged it. And this was when the Sixth Circuit said, you don't have a First Amendment right. This is a law that you as a government worker must comply with. It's not like your private prejudice. This is your job. Harkens back to the old Oliver Wendell Holmes bromide, one of his many well-known points of law. The fireman has a right to free speech, but he doesn't have a right to be a fireman. You can't just say, I ignore the Constitution when you're a municipal worker. So all of that is upheld. She takes it to the Supreme Court, which denies to hear it. And then it appears that the next thing she does, bizarrely, anomalously, not in compliance with Supreme Court rules, is she files a petition for cert. And the petition for cert says, here's the issue. Should Obergefell be overturned? The same-sex marriage case. Now, this is not part and parcel of any kind of other legal action, that she's already been all the way through that. and the Supreme Court already has declined to hear it. She just basically, gets somebody from a religious-minded organization called, I think, the Liberty Council. They slap it on a piece of paper and file, Davis v. whomever, U.S. Supreme Court petition for certiorari, question presented, should the court overturn Obergefell. So she probably has no standing because she's complaining of past injury, but more than that, she's, someone whom the court will recognize whatever the view of the individual justices about same-sex marriage. And Obergefell is a eccentric litigant, you could say, of the kind that sometimes comes knocking on the Supreme Court's door. And I think this petition of hers, which the court, by the way, they're off for the summer, even though they're coming back on all these shadow docket stuff, but they will sort of clear out their docket of petitions for cert just before the first Monday in October. So they'll have a big conference. I think it's the 29th of September, and they'll issue an order sheet. And I think we can expect on that order sheet, among the many, many, many thousands of cases where the petition for cert have been denied, this one, which is flawed in many ways, is completely bizarre in procedure, and is from a litigant who has now become a poster child for a don't care what the law says, I am pedal to the metal on my religious objections to providing, under state authority, as these people have a right to receive, marriage licenses to same-sex couples. So here you go. The court's gotten it. I will see. I would doubt that anybody on the court, including the couple who have mentioned their interest or receptivity to overturning Obergefell, will vote to grant this. I think it'll just be denied. I do want to say one thing about Obergefell, which is people said when Dobbs was decided, your reasoning, court, the six of you, overturning Roe v. Wade, really doesn't make a lot of sense. And if it did make a lot of sense about, what had been the understanding back in the day and all that stuff, well, we do not have a tradition in this country. I mean, it really wasn't even in the sort of social setting of the country to have same-sex marriages back then. And people were very quick to point out, I was one of them, if you take this reasoning seriously, it makes Obergefell look very vulnerable. Now, at the time, that was an argument for why they really should not kind of isolate out. There's always been in the substantive due process realm a really special focus on Roe v. Wade and abortion, whereas the body of law is, I think, much more similar and overlapping. But that point, which I think is accurate, is a two-edged sword, because now on the other side of the Dobbs decision, there will certainly be some sentiment for, yep, that's right, I dissented in Obergefell, will say Justice Thomas, and I think that should also be overturned. Now, there are a lot of reasons, and they're not necessarily legally driven. Indeed, they tend to show the legal infirmity with the Dobbs decision, that this court, I think, would be far more hesitant to overturn Obergefell than it was to overturn Dobbs. But it's part and parcel of the whole kind of hyper-conservative court and, its willingness to throw certain lightning bolts. And so at a minimum, and this is the reason this, story came to the fore, any efforts, and there will be efforts, especially among religious folks with religious beliefs against same-sex marriage, any efforts to try to revisit Obergefell will warrant very careful scrutiny. It just takes 4 votes to accept it on cert. And, I think after Dobbs and with whatever's going to happen, should there be retirements, it's just something that once seemed unthinkable and now no longer seems unthinkable. Anyway, not, however, in the case of famous, I'll go to prison before I'll grant issue a marriage certificate to a same-sex couple, Kim Clark. Her petition is headed straight for the deny pile. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.